Dragon Ball Z is without a doubt the greatest shonen anime to ever be conceived. To say it had a massive effect on my life would be more than obvious. Watching this show on Toonami back in 1999 and in the early 2000s really did change my life for the better in ways that nobody could ever understand. This show is really nostalgic to me. It's the one that got me into anime in the first place. And in this video, I will be giving you my top 20 list of Dragon Ball Z fights. And yeah, I couldn't limit myself to only 10. This show is just that good. And it had that much of an impact on my life. So, with that out of the way, let's begin the list. My list of the top 20 best fights in Dragon Ball Z. Fights from Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball GT, and most recently Dragon Ball Super will not be included, but I will make lists for those entries in the franchise at a later point. So anyways, let's begin the video. Okay, coming in the number 20 spot is Goku vs. Nappa. Well, I really do like this fight, as personally, when this was airing on Toonami for the second time, I unfortunately missed this one as I was attending something that was going to fuck up my life. But in all fairness, it's a good fight. Goku does counter Nappa's mouth beam with a Kamehameha, and it's really cathartic. 'Cause at this point in the show, we saw Nappa dominate. He killed everyone that wasn't blown up by a Cyberman, Yamcha. Nappa essentially dominated and killed Chelsu, Piccolo, and Tien at this point. He was about to kill Gohan and Krillin, but then Goku showed up, this fight began, and Goku kicked his ass. And in this fight, Goku faces off against someone who, in a way, has a similar technique. I'm more than willing to argue that Nappa's lightning aura is more or less kind of like his version of Goku's Kaioken, which is clearly what Vegeta was referring to when he tells Goku that he has seen techniques similar to the Kaioken when they have their first fight. The only bad thing that I can say about this fight is that Goku technically wins, but only it's because Vegeta forces Nappa to back off. The minute that happens, the Bald Saiyan directly goes after Gohan and Krillin, which leads to a positive about this fight. Goku uses the Kaioken for the first time on screen. One swift blow defeats Nappa and cripples him, all in less than 4 seconds, which leads to Vegeta throwing Nappa directly into the air and killing him by vaporizing him with an energy blast. Piccolo, Tien, Krillin, Gohan, Master Roshi, and Jaco versus Frieza's army from Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. I know that this is all filler, and they're just there to take on Frieza's goons until Goku and Vegeta arrive. But, in all fairness, they actually win the fight. They don't get so overwhelmed that they're getting their asses kicked while Jaco runs away, and then Goku and Vegeta show up to save them. Nope, after getting their butts kicked, Frieza essentially kills them all himself, as he's really pissed off that his troops, his army of 1,000 soldiers, got their asses kicked by what amounts to not all of the Z fighters, an old man, and a member of the Galactic Patrol. There is a lot to really like about this fight. The really cool use of martial arts. The part of the fight where Tien lures a bunch of Frieza Force soldiers into a cave, only to annihilate them with a giant tri-beam. The fact that Master Roshi is now relevant again, and not only did he learn the one-handed Kamehameha, but he can do it in his buff form, and using any version of the Kamehameha no longer forces him out of the buff form like in the original series. And even though all of his students had surpassed him years ago, Master Roshi still keeps up with his training and is very strong. This movie actually took a character who hadn't been relevant since the original series and made him relevant again. Another thing to like about this fight is seeing Piccolo use his weighted clothing as weapons. This is the only time anyone has ever thought to do that in the Dragon Ball franchise. This movie here. I really don't care what any of you in the comments say, but the final Dragon Ball Z movie did this fight better than Dragon Ball Super did. All of the tricks that Jaco is able to pull on Frieza's goons. Although he is a member of the Galactic Patrol, Jaco is not a fighter, and it is pretty unique how he's able to find ways to use his head to create strategies to take out members of the Frieza Force who are way stronger than him. And yeah, this scene was awesome. It may have been flashy, and Toriyama may have disdained flashy fight scenes, but I really liked it. Just like the number 18 fight I put on this list, which, speaking of, Goku and Vegeta versus Frieza from the same movie, Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. I mean, this was the big climax of the movie. Not only that, but okay, I didn't watch any of the trailers because I didn't want anything about this movie spoiled for me. Well, outside of what I'd see on promotional art. But I'm pretty sure once it was, more than obvious that Frieza would be the main villain of movie 15, this rematch would have been, well, I'm pretty sure, no wait, I actually think it was all over any and all marketing for the movie after the point that it was revealed that Frieza would be returning in this film. It is really cool that both Goku and Vegeta get to fight Frieza. And within this movie, well, or this fight, we see what a great villain Frieza is. And by that, I mean he's the kind of villain you love to hate. Because unlike his brother, who was an honorable villain, Frieza, knowing that Goku had defeated Majin Buu, essentially brought along a contingency plan in the form of sorbet in case he lost, which he did. And after being beaten by both Goku and Vegeta, Frieza then blows up planet Earth like he did to Namek. And the good guys win even after the Earth is destroyed, as Whis is able to turn back time, but only for 3 minutes. It's actually good for once that the good guys are able to go back in time and change the future without, splitting the timeline or, causing a paradox to happen. But then Goku saves the day, killing Frieza with a Kamehameha wave, and the only criticism I have about this movie is that Goku says that he shouldn't have been so easy on Frieza, but in all fairness, this is how it would have happened. I mean, future Goku killed Frieza in future Trunks' timeline. Plus, the fact that Goku realizes that not everyone can be redeemed is something that he learned in his second fight with Cooler. Gogeta vs. Janemba from Dragon Ball Z Movie 12 Fusion Reborn. Well, I had only seen and heard about this fight on the internet prior to the mid-2000s. This fight is great. I mean, this is the first time chronologically that Goku and Vegeta had fused together. Well, second time, technically, but it's the first time they actually got it right. And in all fairness, I actually did hear that, well, Toriyama originally intended them to do this in the Fusion Saga, and this would be how they would have defeated Boo. But apparently, because of this movie, Toriyama was forced to create Potara Fusion. And, yeah, I could see a Gogeta versus Super Boo fight playing out and them killing him with their signature Stardust Breaker, because I'm pretty sure Janemba is equal to Super Boo in terms of power. And this fight ends with Gogeta unleashing his signature technique, the Stardust Breaker, and killing Janemba with a single hit, showing how strong a fusion between Goku and Vegeta would technically be. Goku, Piccolo, and Gohan versus Garlic Jr. from Dragon Ball Z Movie 1 Dead Zone. Well, what can I say? This is one of the few fights on the list that actually seems like it wouldn't actually be that far out of place in the original series. Before we found out that Goku and Piccolo were aliens, before the androids, before Majin Buu, well, pretty much before everything in Dragon Ball Z. They even included parts of the soundtrack from the original Dragon Ball anime in this fight scene. It's very clear that this was modeled after the Goku and Piccolo versus Raditz fight, but in all fairness, I'm pretty sure this takes place a year before that fight. You know, timeline versus production order and all that. And I actually have this movie on VHS. And it's really awesome. This is a climactic fight where Goku and Piccolo team up to fight Garlic Jr. in his maximum power. They seemingly win, and it looks like we're about to get a Goku-Piccolo rematch, something that we never got in Dragon Ball Z, which would be an interesting what-if premise had Garlic Jr. died here, and Goku and Piccolo ended up fighting to the death in the climax of this movie. I can't believe no one on this platform's done that yet. But then Garlic Jr., who did get immortality, busts out and unleashes his trump card, the Dead Zone. And yeah, all hope does seem lost as everyone is getting sucked into the Dead Zone when Gohan gets his first chronological rage boost in the series and knocks Garlic Jr. into the Dead Zone, trapping him there for all eternity. Bardock versus Frieza and his army from the TV special Dragon Ball Z Bardock, the father of Goku. It was amazing seeing Bardock basically beat the crap out of Frieza's elites, and he was able to dodge all their hits and land some really hardcore blows of his own. They even tried ganging up on him and pinning him down, but even that didn't work. And it's really it's really awesome that we get a scene where Frieza was watching the fight through, I can only assume, a security camera, and was kind of pissed that his elites were getting their asses kicked by one man, and comes to the realization that he's gonna have to deal with this problem himself. Which he does, because I'm pretty sure Frieza knows he's the only one there who could stop Bardock. And, I mean, hypothetically, given a little bit more training and a few Zenkai boosts, and Frieza doesn't transform, I'm pretty sure Bardock could have killed him. And then the fight ends with that famous final Spirit Cannon versus Supernova Deathball clash, which does kill Bardock and goes on to destroy Planet Vegeta, but the man's satisfied as he knows his son will live through this and eventually avenge him and their people. Gohan versus Perfect Cell. For one, it was awesome seeing Gohan go beyond the limits of Super Saiyan. At this point, Gohan had already killed the Cell Juniors, and it was, very satisfying to see him beat the crap out of the arrogant Cell and put him in his place. It was also really unique seeing Gohan and Cell's first Kamehameha beam struggle, one that left the cocky bio-android extremely mangled. Cell tries copying Master Roshi's buff form, but even that wasn't enough for Gohan, who kicks Cell in the gut hard enough to make him spit up Android 18. And yeah, I know that it sucks that Goku had to use instant transmission to get Cell off of Earth and onto King Kai's planet, because Cell was so butthurt about being defeated by a child and losing his perfect form that he was gonna blow up the Earth and take everyone else with him, only to regenerate. If Goku didn't sacrifice himself, Cell would have won, and we wouldn't have gotten this awesome Kamehameha beam struggle, another one, between Gohan and Cell, that Gohan once again wins. No more arrogance, no more letting the fact that he went beyond Super Saiyan go to his head. This time, Gohan defeats Cell in a beam struggle and pretty much kills him for good. Majin Vegeta versus Majin Buu. Yeah, I really gotta say, this fight was pretty good. After Vegeta knocked out Goku with a cheap shot, he went to kill Majin Buu as he saw Majin Buu's resurrection as being his fault, which it actually was. Vegeta launches some pretty awesome attacks at Majin Buu. Buu uses both mouth beams, explosive waves, and even rips off portions of his own body to bind Vegeta in. Goten and Trunks arrive to help, and Vegeta knocks them out so that Piccolo can fly them off to a safe location. The fight ends with Vegeta doing the only thing that he can think of, essentially self-destructing and hoping that the explosion is strong enough to take Majin Buu with him, hitting him hard enough so that he can't regenerate from it, thus atoning for his sins by having killed the monster that his actions had indirectly let out. And this scene where Vegeta's body falls to the ground and crumbles was also pretty interesting. And yeah, as we know, Majin Buu survives, but it was a good fight. Piccolo versus Gohan. I mean, this fight was epic. It was almost a callback to one of the Goku versus King Piccolo fights from the original Dragon Ball series. After Gohan was up in the middle of the night, he comes across Goku's old space pod that has a projection of the moon that I can only assume emits Blunt's Way. This sends Gohan into a raid and into a direct fight with Piccolo. The Blunt's Wave moon, i.e. the fake moon, essentially calls out to Gohan's Saiyan heritage. Well, Gohan is running towards the fake moon. Piccolo knows that he's gonna have to corner the boy, so he uses his latest ability, his split form technique, to split into two Piccolos. They fight, and Piccolo finds out that Gohan's tail has been restored. Now, growing up, I did not see the original Dragon Ball. I saw this first. So, I was completely unaware that Goku's tail was chopped off, and it also regrew, both events happening in the first season of the original Dragon Ball. Now, there was an English dub of half of Dragon Ball's first season, but it didn't exactly have the promotion that Dragon Ball Z got, so unfortunately, I didn't know it existed, nor did anyone else that I knew. The fight continues, and Gohan defeats both Piccolos. Piccolo realizes the moon is back, but then remembered that he blew up the moon. Realizing that he has to end this fight now, we actually get a really good callback to Dragon Ball's first season, as Piccolo uses the Thunder Shock surprise to hold Gohan down. But Gohan proves that he truly is Goku's son, as, like his father before him, he transforms into an Ozaru, a giant ape, and busts through the lightning shock surprise attack and instantly goes on a rampage. Piccolo fires another energy blast, but when it goes through the moon, he realizes that it's obviously fake. Piccolo did have a tough time with the rampaging Ozaru Gohan, but then he finds the source of the fake moon, the Saiyan space pod that brought Goku to Earth as a baby. Piccolo ends the fight and brings Goku back to normal by firing a special beam cannon into Goku's old space pod and blowing it up. Like I said, this fight is a really good callback to the later seasons of Dragon Ball before Goku was aged up, and like the lightning surprise attack, this fight had tons of great callbacks to the original Dragon Ball series, and along with Gohan's tail. And in this fight, Gohan is able to beat down both Piccolo and his doppelganger, Yamcha, Tien, Krillin, and Chelsu versus Scarface and Shorty. This was the big fight from the Pendulum Room episode, in which Mr. Popo uses the Pendulum Room to send 4 of the Z-Fighters back in time to planet Vegeta 1,000 years ago. You see, this fight is actually kind of, well, less like a Dragon Ball Z fight and more like a horror movie. Basically, the gist is that in this case, the Z-Fighters are 100% outclassed, and we see them fall one by one until Yamcha and Tien, the 2 strongest members of the group, are the only 2 remaining, in which Scarface and Shorty strike them down with a tag team combo. This is chronologically, it's the first time we see Yamcha use his Spirit Ball technique since the last season of Dragon Ball. And in all fairness, it was really awesome. And I really think he should have used this again during the fight with the Cyberman. This technique could have saved him from essentially the Cyberman self-destructing and killing them both. I mean, people have their opinions, but I say if Yamcha used this technique against the Cyberman, the one he uses in this episode, he would have beaten that Cyberman and may not have died. Well, he probably would have died against Nappa, but that's beside the point. Tien combines his multiform technique with his tri-beam, and that was really cool. The Z Fighters versus androids 13, 14, and 15. I'm going to be blunt. This was essentially the entire plot of movie 7. Androids 14 and 15 attack a department store where the Z Fighters just happen to be because they're searching for Goku, and Goku then flies to an Arctic area to essentially take the fight out of harm, well, to a place where there's no people, so no innocent civilians will be killed. Okay, so with that said, now I'm gonna say everything that I liked about this fight. Before any of the Z Fighters went Super Saiyan, they were getting their asses kicked by the androids, but I knew that they were gonna win this fight thanks to the internet. Scene where Vegeta shows up and essentially establishes his status as Goku's rival by saying he didn't really show up to help them. He showed up to kill the androids because if they kill Goku, Vegeta would never be able to fight him. And he makes it clear that if anyone is going to kill Goku, it will be him. The scene with the Super Saiyan Trinity. The moment where you know that androids 14 and 15 are about to die, as Goku, Vegeta, and future Trunks have all powered up into Super Saiyans. I really liked the way that Vegeta ends Android 15. He strikes him with a flurry of punches, and then we get this scene where they both charge at each other and strike. The impact was hard enough to cause Vegeta to power down to his base form, but then Android 15's head falls off, and he explodes. Future Trunks' victory over Android 14, where they basically just collide into each other, and then there's a flash of light. They both land, and we see that the collision forced Trunks to power down to his base form. Android 14 charges directly at the young hero. As we then find out in the collision, the young swordsman chopped Android 14 in two with his blade, thus causing him to explode. And the last thing to note about this is the Spirit Bomb Fist, the technique that ended the fight. Goku forms a Spirit Bomb, then he goes Super Saiyan, and then Goku absorbs the Spirit Bomb and gut punches Android 13 hard enough to essentially kill him. You can see why I made it Goku's finishing move as a Super Saiyan in some of my my design concept for Dragon Ball Super Budokai. This finishing move actually is that epic. Goku versus Majin Vegeta. I can't deny that when this aired on Toonami back in 2001, you bet your ass that my ass was glued in front of the TV because I really wanted to see this fight. Every part of this battle was great. And rewatching it, it's just as good as I remembered it. Goku and Vegeta were both fighting at a level beyond that of Super Saiyan. And one part of the fight that really spoke to me was the scene where Vegeta gives Goku that lecture about pride and the fact that he fell under Babidi's control willingly. Techniques that they use in this fight are just awesome, ranging from the final flash, the energy rings technique that Vegeta uses to restrain Goku so he can give him that big speech about pride, Goku's energy nullification technique, an explosive wave, and the Kamehameha. And yeah, it does suck that Vegeta wins by basically sucker punching Goku, but in all fairness, I think Vegeta would have won regardless, because Goku refused to use Super Saiyan 3, and if Vegeta had just given it a little more time, he would have eventually knocked Goku out. Unless Goku broke out Super Saiyan 3, then he would have won the fight. Vegeta versus Android 19. At this point, Goku he was losing. Android 19 had him pinned down due to the heart virus, and 19 was draining Goku's energy. When Vegeta basically just drop kicks Android 19 forward and resumes the fight. This was the episode that revealed that Vegeta could transform into a Super Saiyan like Goku and future Trunks. Chronologically, it's the third time we would have seen it. This would be the point where everyone in the Z Fighters, except for Goku, who at the time, prior to this fight, was the only one who knew Vegeta had this transformation up his sleeve. I really like the fact that Vegeta, him transforming into a Super Saiyan, was strong enough to make this massive crater in the ground. I also really liked the flashback scene to when Vegeta first transformed into a Super Saiyan. And yeah, another great thing about this fight is near the end, where Android 19 is terrified of Vegeta and is trying to get as far away from him as humanly possible. I'm pretty sure in his computer brain he's thinking, get me out of here. That guy's a monster. Get him the hell away from me. And Vegeta actually he does ask 19 before he transforms if androids could experience fear, which they apparently can. The fight ends with Vegeta revealing his latest technique, the Big Bang Attack, and I really liked it when he said, that it's too bad there wasn't a scrapyard around so they could give 19 a proper burial. And after the beams clash, so do Gohan and Bojack. But it's enough, but one more hit is enough for Gohan to kill Bojack, thus saving the world and bringing Dragon Ball Z Movie 9 to an end. After Goku's inspirational speech to Gohan about how he has to save the world because he's the most powerful being on Earth at the moment, Gohan goes far beyond Super Saiyan again to the level he was at when he killed Cell. Gohan easily walks through the energy wires that Bojack's goons had set up to, well, stop him, and he wrecks them, except for the girl. Bojack wrecked her himself, and it was down to just him and Gohan. After gut-punching Bojack and making it clear that he's gonna have to use all his power, Bojack uses his ace in the hole that I completely forgot what it's called at the moment, while Gohan prepares a Kamehameha. Like the fight with Cell, this one pretty much just comes down to a beam struggle, and after the beams clash, so do Gohan and Bojack. But it's enough, but one more hit is enough for Gohan to kill Bojack, thus saving the world and bringing Dragon Ball Z Movie 9 to an end. Goku and Vegeta versus Mecha Cooler from Dragon Ball Z Movie 6, The Return of Cooler. At this point in the fight, Goku had been getting his ass kicked by Metacooler, and Cooler was about to finish Goku off, since it was clear he wouldn't be able to take him on alone, until Vegeta intervenes in the fight and kicks Metacooler at least a foot away, no pun intended, delivers the typical anime rival speech about how he's the only one who's allowed to defeat Goku, and transforms into a Super Saiyan for the second time chronically in the timeline. But in the Dragon Ball timeline, this would be the first time that Vegeta would use this form in an actual fight. And believe me when I say that it's a fight that has a lot to love about it. Especially if you like the type of fights in anime where the hero has to team up with his rival to bring down the big bad. Or current big bad, I should say. Since Vegeta's an egomaniac, he basically tries to take Metacooler on alone, even though Goku is stronger than him, and he couldn't win against that thing. And surprise, surprise, he didn't fare any better than Goku did. Goku and Vegeta get the shit kicked out of them. Goku and Vegeta then strike at the same time, and they're actually able to get some really good hits in on Mecha Cooler. They charge directly at him, crash into him, and do enough damage to rip him in half and tear through one of his arms. Part of the fight where Goku and Vegeta hit Cooler with tag team energy beams, and then hit him with a flurry of energy blasts, which eventually manages to overpower Mecha Cooler and actually kill him. Goku and Vegeta fall to the ground and revert back to their base forms. But then Goku looks up and sees another Mecha Cooler, who, in his own words, he does say that the Big Getty Star is constantly monitoring his body and repairing any flaws, even if the flaw is that he only has one body. And then we get the revelation that Cooler had made an army of these robot duplicates of himself for this specific fight. And as the Metacooler army charges at the two Saiyans, they basically just create this Super Saiyan explosion wave that leaves it pretty ambiguous how many Metacoolers were destroyed. For all we know, they destroyed them all, and Cooler just had some machine or one of his robot guards bring them to his base, or maybe none of them were destroyed, maybe half. It basically just cuts to Goku and Vegeta being locked up in the Big Getty Star because Cooler wanted to drain the energy out of Goku and Vegeta's body, which led to them getting free and breaking out of Cooler's trap, which led to a final fight where Goku and Vegeta end up killing Cooler. Future Gohan versus Future Android 17 and 18. Yeah, I know this fight ends with Gohan dying, but in all fairness, I first saw clips of this in Japanese on the internet, and I thought it was really cool. Despite the fact that Gohan was technically stronger than Future Android 17 and 18, they actually managed to win by fighting him 2-on-1. And it was actually amazing seeing that Gohan was able to keep up with them for at least 20 years. And not only does he keep up, he got in a lot of really good hits on them. For one, the kick that sent Android 17 flying into a building, this energy beam that resulted in this beam struggle, a beam struggle that Gohan managed to win, might I add. And this scene where he slams Android 17 directly into a rooftop. And before the fight even begins, Gohan actually delivers a really amazing speech about how even if Android 17 and 18 kill him, someone even stronger will surface and take his place. Which was basically just a traditional anime hero speech, but was more or less foreshadowing future Trunks going Super Saiyan, and eventually going back in time to receive the training that he needed to kill future Android 17 and future Android 18. Goku and Piccolo versus Raditz. Goku and Piccolo have joined forces to fight Raditz, Goku's evil brother, who revealed the fact that Goku is actually an alien. And they're getting their butts kicked. Piccolo asks Goku if he has any new techniques that could defeat Raditz. Goku admits that he doesn't have any new techniques up his sleeve, but Piccolo does. After he tells Goku that he can do it with one arm, Goku agrees to basically keep Raditz distracted for 5 minutes while Piccolo charges up his ki. Goku runs headfirst into a fight with Raditz, even though Piccolo told him that he had never actually used this technique in a fight. Goku is still willing to be the distraction and give Piccolo the 5 minutes that he'd need to charge up the special beam cannon, or as it's known in the original Japanese version, the Makanko Sampo, as Piccolo begins charging up the attack. During the fight, Goku charges up a Kamehameha at Raditz, and he does it just as Raditz's scouter detects Piccolo and makes it clear that the Namekian is charging an attack aimed at the evil Saiyan. The technique that Goku unleashed was his flexible Kamehameha, which puts Raditz in a situation where he has to make a choice. Normally, he would instantly kill Piccolo and end any chance of this new attack dealing him damage. But if he does that, he could probably get vaporized by Goku's energy blast. So he's got to make a choice on which to block. Goku used this technique specifically to stall time, and I can't believe that Bandai never used this as a what-if scenario, where Goku is able to bide enough time, and both attacks hit Raditz at the exact same time, killing him. But either way, this is a scenario where, well, in this fight, or this part of the fight, Raditz is not gonna make it out without taking damage. Raditz decides to block Goku's attack and responds with a blast of his own, one that sends Goku plummeting to the ground, and just as Raditz is about to kill his own brother, remembers that Piccolo was charging an attack too, which he tries to block like he did with Goku's flexible Kamehameha. And for the first time in the franchise, Piccolo uses his signature technique, the Special Beam Cannon, or as it's known in the original Japanese version, the Makanko Sanpo. Raditz actually manages to dodge the attack, but just briefly, and it does pierce his armor, injure his arm, and cause it to bleed. Then he charges an attack that he intends to use to kill Piccolo. But just before Raditz is able to unleash his blast, Goku grabs onto Raditz's tail, rendering him powerless and canceling out his double Sunday, which was what that technique is called. Goku squeezes Raditz's tail, forcing the Saiyan into submission. Goku tells Piccolo to charge up another attack to end this fight, and Raditz pleads with him to let him go. Raditz pleads with Goku after everything he did, kidnapping Gohan, and stating that he was going to kill everyone on the planet, and tried to kill him and Piccolo. But eventually, Raditz is able to convince Goku to let him go by taking advantage of him by lying and saying that it was all a farce to get him to join them, and Raditz lies and tells Goku that everything he said was nothing but a bluff, and that if Goku lets go of his tail, he'll leave Earth and never come back. Since this is way before Goku would get character development and realize that not everyone deserves mercy, and since this is almost half a decade before the events of Return of Cooler, where Goku gets the character development and realizes that not everyone deserves mercy, he lets go of Raditz's tail. An action that instantly turns out to be a mistake when Raditz instantly strikes him down. Raditz physically tortures Goku by stomping on his chest, but seeing his father get tortured for long enough enraged Gohan so that he'd be able to blast through Raditz's space pod, and as Raditz's scouter tells him what Gohan's power level is, everything is set up for the iconic scene from this fight where Gohan headbutts Raditz in the chest. With Gohan's rage boost over, his power level returns back to 1, and just before Raditz can kill him, Goku holds Raditz down with a full Nelson. Piccolo fires another special beam cannon. This time it hits, impaling both Raditz and Goku. Raditz taunts Piccolo and tells him about his two Saiyan partners, Nappa and Vegeta. Piccolo murders Raditz with his ki, bringing this fight to an end. The number 3 spot on this list is a multiple way tie between several fights from the Frieza saga, where it was basically the Z Fighters versus the Ginyu Force. Now, I'm going to go through each one that's part of the tie and why I liked it. And or what I like about it. And just for the record, not every Z Fighters versus Ginyu Force brawl is going to be a part of this tie. Some will be left out. Gohan and Krillin versus Goldo. The only thing I like about this fight is this scene here where Gohan and Krillin are powering up to then charge at Goldo and fire their two best energy blast techniques at him. Vegeta versus Recoome. Well, first of all, the beatdown that Vegeta puts Recoome through was amazing, where he was just beating the ever-loving crap out of him, even going so far as to grab Recoome by the leg, spin him around, and throw him directly into this Namekian canyon. Seeing Vegeta charge up this attack and fire it was so friggin' awesome. I first saw this when I was 9, and I thought it was so cool. But then Recoome gets serious, and he gets the upper hand over Vegeta big time. Vegeta is able to hold his own against Recoome for a short time, and he fights really hard. After hiding underwater and then popping out like a rocket, slamming directly into Recoome's gut, he is able to get in one final really high-level blow on this behemoth. But after that, it becomes very clear that Vegeta has absolutely no chance of winning this fight. And when I first saw this episode, back when I was 9, I knew it too, because I had already seen Recoome get beaten down by Goku. Speaking of Goku versus Recoome. Okay, the fact that Goku took Recoome down with only one hit, and this scene here where Vegeta essentially goes into the legend of the Super Saiyan and mentions the last guy who could do it, but could only maintain it in the Ozaru form, which is something that comes back in the form of the Golden Ozaru in Dragon Ball GT. Goku versus Ginyu. I like the fact that at first Goku doesn't overexert himself, cause he's saving his full power for when he fights Frieza. I like the fact that even if it is fueled by a massive ego, Ginyu wanted to win the fight on his own, and since Goku was holding back to use his full power against Frieza, Ginyu actually let him go when Jace used the Crusher Ball and Ginyu got him from behind. And then he berates Jace for interfering in his fight. And of course, the highlight of the fight was when Ginyu unleashed his signature technique, the ability to swap bodies with anyone he chooses. Outside the fight, it was pretty funny when Goku copies Ginyu's pose and calls it stupid, or in the manga and in Dragon Ball Z Kai, says it's a waste of time after Ginyu berates him for getting it wrong. It was just so awesome when Goku powered up and we saw the look on Ginyu's face when he saw Goku's actual power level, and that it was far above, that Goku was just so far above him. In the manga, Goku uses the Kaioken, but in the anime, this was just done as a visual effect, obviously. And I liked the part where Ginyu assumed that Goku was some kind of mutant who got a power boost and then got stronger because of his mutation evolving, simply because Goku didn't have a tail. Gohan, Krillin, Goku in Ginyu's body, and Vegeta versus Ginyu in Goku's body. I really liked the part where Goku figured out what Ginyu's body could do, and thus turning Ginyu's body swap technique against him after giving that speech about how since Ginyu doesn't know how Goku's body works, his power level will only keep dropping. The scene where Vegeta entered the fight and started clobbering Ginyu in Goku's body was really amazing, as he hadn't unlocked all of the potential of Goku's body, and Vegeta beat him down to a pulp, and we knew what exactly was coming. Captain Ginyu was going to attempt switching bodies with Vegeta. Then Goku jumps in the way and manages to get his body back. Outside the fight, Gohan's sick fantasies were pretty unique and a tad humorous. And I also like the part where Goku gives Ginyu that big speech about how he doesn't know how Goku's body works, meaning he'll only get weaker and weaker, as that was a factor that actually played into the fight, because if it didn't, the Z Fighters would have gotten massacred then and there. Vegeta versus Captain Ginyu. For the most part, Captain Ginyu was letting Vegeta win so that he could get all banged up and use his body swap ability, as at this point Vegeta had gotten enough Zenkai boosts to the point where he was stronger than Ginyu, and everyone else was either too weak or too banged up to be able to beat Ginyu if he actually was successful in switching bodies with Vegeta. Goku is aware that they'd be screwed if Ginyu is able to do that. But then, just in the nick of time, Goku notices a Namekian frog, grabs it, and throws it right in front of Ginyu just as he begins his attempt to switch bodies with Vegeta, causing Captain Ginyu to accidentally switch bodies with the frog, bringing this battle to an end and leaving Frieza is the only enemy that they have left to fight. Goku vs. Frieza. When Dragon Ball made its big debut outside of Japan, back in 1999, this was one of the first big slugfests that aired in the franchise, and one of the first big fights from the series that I ever saw. And believe me, there's a lot about it that makes this fight so likable. For instance, seeing Goku take Frieza off guard using the Torpedo Kamehameha, only to slam him right in the face. The part when Frieza locked Goku in that energy ball that would explode if it touched anything but him, slammed Goku around, and then blew it up, and it looks like Goku's dead, only for him to be alive at the end of the episode. Goku and Frieza seem evenly matched when the fight begins, but then when Frieza uses 50% of his overall power in his final form, he actually dominates the fight and beats down Goku. Frieza then throws Goku into a nearby lake, where he attempts to drown him, and Goku actually blacks out, giving the first round of this fight to Frieza. In this time, Goku has a nightmare where Frieza has killed Krillin. Chi-Chi actually manages to kill Gohan, along with everyone else important in Goku's life, and actually manages to get his revenge by invading and killing everyone on Earth. But that nightmare gave Goku the motivation he needs. Knowing that he's the only one in the universe who could stand a chance against Frieza, Goku then unleashes his Kaioken times 20 for the first time in the Dragon Ball franchise. Goku then belts Frieza right in the face, and after a second punch, he hits Frieza with a Kaioken Kamehameha. Goku was almost able to kill Frieza with that last attack, and this is essentially what forced Goku to resort to using his trump card, the Spirit Bomb. Since the Spirit Bomb is an attack that relies on elements. Frieza, it causes the water to rise, and Frieza thinks that the water rising is Goku's attack, and mocks him. Frieza does attack Goku, but he hasn't figured it out yet. Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin transfer some of their energy to Goku to add to the Spirit Bomb, but eventually Frieza looks up, sees the Spirit Bomb, realizes that it's not one of Namek's sons, and puts two and two together, figuring out that Goku was creating that massive ball of energy, and that's why he wasn't striking back. After feeling the force of Goku's Kaioken times 20 Kamehameha, he's not gonna take the chance that Goku's trump card, the Spirit Bomb, might be able to kill him. So Frieza decides he's gonna end this by firing a finger blast through Goku's head. But then Piccolo intervenes, kicking Frieza right in the face, sending him flying and giving Goku enough time to finish charging up the Spirit Bomb. Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin stall for time, and just as Frieza is about to vaporize Namek with a death ball, Goku had completed the Spirit Bomb, which directly hits Frieza and nearly killed him, allowing Goku to win round 2. In the next episode, Frieza returns, really battered up and really pissed. He nearly kills Piccolo with an energy beam. Then he blows up Krillin, which gets Goku so pissed off, his hidden potential is instantly tapped into, and Goku transforms for the very first time in the franchise, taking his place as the legendary Super Saiyan. As a Super Saiyan, Goku is able to smack Frieza around like a rag doll. Knowing that he could not defeat Goku in a fight, Frieza then fires an energy blast directly at Namek's core, completely vaporizing it, and tells Goku that he could beat him easily if he powered up to his 100% full max power, which Goku allows him to do. Goku fires a Kamehameha at Frieza. Frieza charges at it, encased in energy. They clash. Frieza is able to slip off it and strike Goku, sending him flying, allowing Frieza to be the victor of round 3. Goku was down for the rest of the episode, but he returns at the end to continue his fight with Frieza. And the 4th round between Goku and Frieza begins, and there's a lot to like about it. The part where Frieza fires a barrage of ki blasts, but Goku essentially deflects them with one energy beam that's even larger. There's no doubt that allowing Frieza to reach 100% was an honorable feat for Goku, but then in the 4th round of this fight, he just takes it one step further, as when he's talking to King Kai telepathically, and King Kai tells him about the plan he created with Guru by means of telepathy, Goku tells him that he wants to be left out of the wish so that he can defeat Frieza on Namek and be sure that the universe will be rid of that tyrant once and for all. Goku even stalls Frieza so that Dende can make the wish. A plan that worked completely because Dende spoke the wish in Namekian and Frieza didn't. Goku and Frieza continue to fight, and round 4 ends with Goku essentially claiming victory because Frieza isn't even a challenge for him anymore. Goku powers up and flies off, and Frieza throws a homing energy disc at him. Now that round 5 has begun, Goku powers up to Super Saiyan and basically dodges Frieza's homing energy disc. Since one wasn't enough, Frieza then uses 2 energy discs to try and dice up Goku. Goku dodges the energy discs and actually is able to get in some really good hits on Frieza, but eventually the tables are turned and Frieza is cut up by his own attack. As Goku walks away the victor, Frieza begs his forgiveness. Goku shows Frieza mercy and gives him some of his own energy. And after Goku starts to fly off, Frieza instantly fires one last energy beam at him, which Goku counters with an energy beam of his own, knocking Frieza out and leaving the Goku as the victor, the winner of round 5. Goku had defeated Frieza with that one final blast. Goku versus Vegeta. The first fight. This was the first episode of Dragon Ball Z that I had ever seen. And it was this fight that not only got me into anime, but more or less was the foundation for the greatest anime rivalry to ever exist on TV, Japanese, American, or otherwise. Believe me when I say that there is a lot to like about this fight. This scene where Goku whips out the Kaioken, uses ki to destroy a part of the wasteland, but it turns out to be a distraction so Goku can punch Vegeta right in the face, and then hits Vegeta with a flurry of punches. When Vegeta says that he had encountered something like the Kaioken before, that's clearly meant to be an allusion to Nappa's volcano explosion technique. And before you ask me how they would get into a fight, it was probably just a training session when Vegeta was a kid. Seeing Goku unleash the Kaioken times 3 and just beat the crap out of Vegeta was a really cool part of this fight. Seeing Vegeta bust out his energy punch technique, something that I completely missed when I was a kid watching this for the very first time. Then Goku dodges it and punches Vegeta right in the stomach, hard enough to force him to stumble backwards with his hands on his gut as if Goku had just kicked him in the balls. And it all culminates to the legendary Kaioken Kamehameha Gallic Gun Beam Struggle. Goku pushes up his Kaioken multiplier to times 4, which basically won Goku the fight. Because unlike most fights on this list that could be broken down into separate fights or rounds, Vegeta was instantly forced to retreat because Piccolo had blown up the moon, and Vegeta basically ran off to look for it, so he'd be able to gain access to the Great Ape form, as opposed to everyone else Goku fought in a way that could be considered different rounds or best 3 out of 5 like the last selection on this list, because Frieza instantly came back as soon as possible and didn't run off to get time to transform. And that was my top 20 list of fights from Dragon Ball Z. Feel free to tell the community what your favorite Dragon Ball Z fight was in the comments. Please, and feel free to like, comment, favorite, subscribe if you already aren't, and have a great day.